Anonymous! Can I have your attention?
Yeah, we have a special guest!
All right, guys. Let him be. For now. So, we're never going to give him up. Yes, we're never going to give Stiff Kid up. Now then, I would like to welcome for our next special guest, Larry Brennan, former Chief Executive of the Church of Scientology. So if you'd please give me a big hand for Larry.
Actually, I wasn't chief executive. That's not what it's called in Scientology. But I spent 5 years in what's called the Guardian's Office worldwide. I ran all of Scientology's legal operations that were outside of the courts from 76 to 81. Prior to that, I did that for the United States Guardian's Office, and after that, I was on what was called Watchdog Committee, which is allegedly their most senior body. And we did the corporate affairs, the corporate evolution, as it were, in the church. But anyway, what I wanted to do is, like as most of you guys know, today, all over the world, Anonymous and others are pulling off events to raise awareness of abuses on the part of the organized Scientology. The primary theme is disconnection and reconnection. So I wanted to tell my own quick disconnection story and then tell you what's really behind it at the top of organized Scientology that maybe sort of explains it all. For all the ones, for any of you that go on the internet, which I suspect is about everybody here.
Never!
You're going to see a whole lot of talks about people losing their children and all that, and I want to just tell you why that happens. Okay, first of all, my own story. I have a daughter. I'm happy to say my story has a happy ending, whereas many of them do not. She was in what was called the Commodore's Messenger Organization in Los Angeles, and she was 17 and then 18. And she saw horrible abuses in organized Scientology. She saw pregnant women sent to penal camps. She saw people that wanted to leave be heavily abused by 5 and 6 people at a time and be sent to what's called a rehabilitation project force. People were taking 8 and 9 months. They're still not allowed to rat out. So what happened was she and another girl that was also 18 at the time fled Los Angeles in their car without getting any Scientology authorization and started heading to me in New Hampshire. One day later, I got a call from very senior persons in organized Scientology telling me that I needed to inform my daughter that she had no father and no home. Both girls were unwelcome. They either need to go back to Scientology for punishment, or they just need to live on no money in the middle of the country and make their way. I absolutely refused to do that. I said, sorry. Anyway, I said to them words that I can't repeat here without those guys arresting me. I told organized Scientology, but nonetheless, I got my daughter home. They threatened me that I would lose all of my Scientology future in Bridge, all friends, associates, business contacts. At the time I worked for a Scientologist, if I accepted my daughter, and of course I accepted my daughter. She's now a jet pilot for United Airlines. The sad part of this is that there are thousands of examples that don't have happy endings. And if you want to see something, right on the internet there's a site called ex-Scientologykids.com. And it's run by 3 very courageous young women. One is the niece of the head of Scientology, David Miscavige's niece, Jenna. And she's told her own story on TV, and there's going to be coming out even more. But even she has been, when she was a Scientology kid, and she was made to work incredible hours. She was taken out of school. At the age of 11, she was going to school once a week. She got to see her parents a couple times a year, and was horribly abused, and she told her story, and as did the other young ladies there. There are countless sites on the internet. Through the door is the story of hundreds of people who've escaped organized Scientology and have told their stories of abuses while in. Now, when this is called out, organized Scientology representatives, like the representatives in Boston, will say that is a complete lie. We are for families. We don't believe in disconnection. Well, I'm telling you right now that thousands of people are not lying. Now, one of the things that I can bring to the table here is that in 1981 and 82 and 83, I worked in the organization called Special Unit. And we did the corporate evolution, which is the current structure that you see now with RTC and Church of Scientology International and that. And that's where David Miscavige seized power. And now what I've seen happen in that power siege was I've seen people beaten by David Miscavige, who heads the Church of Scientology. He's punched him in the mouth. I've seen people strangled by him, spit on by him, slapped by him, incarcerated into penal colonies, people made to divorce by him. It is very, very savage, but why haven't we heard more until recently? It's because he, later on, through the 90s in court, he's testified that he doesn't run Scientology under penalty of perjury, but he does. In fact, he said he was not involved in that corporate restructure, but I actually had to bring it to him personally. So what he's done is he runs about $1 billion empire. He does it through fear and intimidation. He abuses all of the main staff at their international headquarters. And then what happens is you're told that if you speak out, all of your family that are in Scientology will disconnect from you. Your children, your parents, your relatives, your friends. If you work for a Scientology business, you're fired. So you can't, in Scientology, there's a thing called a high crime. A high crime includes speaking out against the Church of Scientology. So you could have seen a rape, a beating, an abuse, or whatever, but if you speak out to the government authorities, that is a high crime. If you take a legal action against a member in good standing of the Church of Scientology, that is a high crime. So they keep people secluded. I happen to know people that know of tremendous frauds and perjuries within organized Scientology from the top down that were afraid to talk because they have a daughter in, a son in, whatever. But I'm happy to say, although I can't give details now, there are a bunch that are about to talk, and there are going to be complaints filed.